What's the best way to offer your customers support? Would it be an FAQ page? No, too impersonal. What about in-person texts that drive to customer sites to help? No, that requires too much time and money. I know. We'll hire a bunch of budding computer science majors, stick them on a phone line, teach them nothing, pay them nothing, and promise them promotions that we'll never give them. Surely this elite team will be willing to support customers from all around the world. Hey, wait a minute. Why did everybody quit? I guarantee that you've all heard of a call center before. It's a pit where all CS majors go to die. Seriously, I've worked in 2 of these things, both times out of pure desperation for any kind of income. And every time, my coworkers have been fellow CS majors who also could not find work due to the absolutely terrible state the entire tech job market has been in since around mid-2022. I mean, I really don't have to tell you how bad it's been. The layoffs have been making mainstream news, for Pete's sake. But seriously, my little joke in the intro is true. Many US-based call centers require at least an associate's degree in computer science or information systems just to make on average $18 to $20 an hour. Because everybody knows that you need to take college level courses in calculus, web design, and various programming or scripting languages in order to instruct people how to reset a password or plug in an Ethernet cable over the phone. That bit in the intro about being promised promotions and never getting them is also true. In every call center I and every person I know has worked in, a total of 12, we were all brought in with the same promises. During the interview process, every call center will tell you, hey, I know you can code and you're super smart. All you have to do is work here for a year and we'll give you a job that more suits your degree. So you work there for a year and you finally ask your boss, hey, it's been a year. Can we start talking about me getting a promotion? Ooh, sorry, buddy. We just don't think you're ready yet. If you can get your numbers up, I'm sure we can start talking about it then. Every single time. 12 out of 12 times this happened to me or someone I know personally. One of my friends was even told this for 3 years straight. When it's time for your quarterly or yearly review, you always hear about how well you're doing and how good your numbers are. But when it's time for them to give you what they promised, suddenly you're trash at your job and couldn't possibly be considered for a promotion with all the mistakes that you're making. In my specific experience, I busted my ass for 6 months straight to become number 1 on my team for calls answered and customer satisfaction score. I was a year and 4 months in, and when I got that same response during the review, I asked my manager how he could possibly say I'm not worthy when I had been number 1 for nearly half the time I had worked there. And you want to know what he told me? He told me that when he was in my shoes, he answered twice the amount of calls I did. A bold-faced lie, by the way. And unless I could pull those kinds of numbers, I wasn't going anywhere. It suddenly made sense to me why many of the people I worked with had been there for 3 years or even more. So a month later, I promptly quit that place. A fate that also was shared by all the people I talked to about this. If you couldn't tell, call centers likely have some of the highest turnaround rates for any job. One of my old coworkers told me that the worst he'd ever seen was when the company we worked for hired 12 people, and only 2 of those 12 hadn't quit before they were done with their 2-week training course. What's even worse is that I later learned that the newest guy on the team, who worked there for 2 months before leaving for 6 months on paternal leave, came back, worked another month, then received a promotion for the position I was wanting. All because he had been friends with his manager for years before he even got hired. I know nepotism in corporate America isn't news, but it feels especially bad in call centers because it's pretty much the only way you get anywhere. So call centers are places where overqualified recent grads go to learn just how terrible the working culture in America truly is. All while their managers lie to them and they get paid nothing. How could this get any worse? Well, let's not forget these jobs are in the wondrous field of customer service. This job is nothing but a constant struggle between you and the inability for the average person to admit when they're wrong or don't know something. Seriously, people will fight you on anything. You tell someone to plug their Ethernet cable into an Ethernet port on their computer, and they think you're a hacker who's going to install all the hacker stuffs on their mainframe and steal their money, like that one movie they saw. These people can and will fight you on everything. It's a cruel cycle of they don't know anything, so they aren't comfortable touching anything, so they don't want to do anything you tell them to do, which results in a glorious scenario of which the customer calls you in need of assistance, but refuses to do anything you tell them to, coupled with the fact that your manager will be breathing down your neck if your call goes over an arbitrary time limit that they randomly made up, and you suddenly realize why office building windows are made of tempered glass. And if the customer is willing to comply, they usually have this massive ego that prevents them from ever admitting when they're wrong or made a mistake. Sure, they'll unplug that Ethernet cable, but is that really necessary? They read somewhere once, maybe, probably, that Ethernet cables are bad, so they want to unplug it from power instead, because they know what they're talking about, and you don't. And don't forget, your manager is watching. You'd better hurry up. The final icing on the call center cake is when money is involved. No matter how egotistical or stupid the customer is, you can bet your ass that if you're telling them to restart something that makes them money, like a credit card machine, they will refuse to do it. Unless it's broken, and the primary reason for their call, in which they will be screaming and cursing at you to fix it right now, so they can go back to making money. If the money maker is broken and you don't know how to fix it immediately, you can assume your manager will be requested. And you can bet all $18 per hour you're making that your manager will throw you under the bus just to make some random, insignificant customer happy. But don't worry, call centers almost never actually fire anyone, so you'll most certainly keep your job. And that's the perfect nutshell to put call centers into. A den of paper tigers. You'll get thrown under the bus, threatened with disciplinary action, and given false promises of promotions, all to keep you in that chair and taking those phone calls. This might sound harsh, but I genuinely cannot wait for these jobs to get replaced by AI. It'll be good for everyone. All the depressed CS majors working in these hellholes will finally try to realize their potential. And for the customers, they will finally have the support they deserve. An unfeeling, unthinking robot who they can verbally abuse to their heart's content. For now, anyway.